Welcome to Biz Coach and Coffee, where our guests are experts, entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants that share tips, strategies, and tactics to help small business entrepreneurs grow their business for long-term success. Please welcome your host, Biz Coach Steve Feld. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Biz Coach and Coffee. I'm your host, Biz Coach Steve Feld. Today, we have another phenomenal guest here to help you grow your business. Our guest is the founder of Social Chameleon. It's a podcast production. Hey, go figure that. And here we are on a podcast. How great is that? They also do distribution, and they're also a marketing company. And he leads with a service above self mentality, seeking ways that he can make a positive change within his community and in the world. He's the host of Mic'd Up, a podcast with a mission to help and inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. He loves helping entrepreneurs and businesses brand, tell their story, and connect with their audiences. So please welcome Mike DiCioccio. Mike, welcome to today's show.
Thanks, brother. Hey, man, that was an amazing introduction. I just enjoyed sitting back and listening to it and realizing, man, I did some pretty cool stuff. And now I got to live up to those expectations for our audience. So appreciate you having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. And you brought, that's a great point right there. For a lot of small business owners, we're out there grinding it and people are trying to do it by themselves. And they forget of all their accomplishments that they've done in their life. So it's amazing writing it down and having told it helps. It makes us feel good, doesn't it?
It does. It's weird that it's still uncomfortable though. I don't know if that's a little bit of the imposter syndrome thing where it's like, okay, well, I've done those things, but I know I have so much more to do. So it's kind of like, I'm not so interested in telling that story, but it is important to remember it's part of the story. You don't get from A to Z without going through that, the rest of the alphabet, if you will. And a story is not linear like the alphabet. It's through different doors and it's an experiences that in the moment you think, man, I'm getting myself beat up right here. And I've had things where I go, I wish that never happened. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't wish that didn't happen because I would have never learned from it. And then if I didn't learn from it, I would have never grown from it. And then how do I eliminate making the mistake again the second time if I don't know about it? So a lot of times you hear about like these, you either win or you learn. And I do believe in that mentality. And we don't always write that in our bio that we would talk about on a podcast or on our quick one pager that you see on LinkedIn that highlights what we're all about, or, resume if someone's looking for a new career or job or opportunity. We keep that stuff out, but that very much is what makes us who we are. And whenever I'm bringing someone on the team or meeting a new person, as far as, hey, this is a great networking person or a coach, I want to know more about the juicy stuff, if you will, that makes them who they are than only the brag book. Because a lot of times those things can be similar to other people who've hit some pretty tremendous things. And it's not to minimize them. It's to simply talk about the stuff that's very real and understanding this is what makes somebody who they are. And, not to get too far in the weeds on it. And I'd love to, have you, whatever you want to talk about, that's what I'm here to do to help the audience out. But you see people who've, they've had it all and then they lost it and they get it back again. Like an entrepreneur who's, made 7 figures, they go through some kind of turmoil, life event, divorce, business partner blows up the business, something. And then a few years later, they're back on top again. It's because not just, I've had a business so I can do it again. On paper, whip-de-doo. It's, this person went through all that stuff. They've learned from it and they're applying it again to the second opportunity, or it's probably not their second opportunity if they're already made $1 million. They've had many failures, most likely before then, on average, and the average millionaire has 7 different flows of income. So they're not just playing, they're not dancing in one arena. So my point in sharing that with the audience is anyone who's an aspiring entrepreneur, or maybe they feel stuck right now and they're kind of think their wheels are turning in the wrong direction, realize that the direction that you want to go in and the levels that you're looking to unlock a lot of times require what you're in right now. Don't stay there for too long. The more painful it is, the quickly you want to get out of it. I was telling you off camera, that I was just going through a little something in my personal life, and then I was able to overcome that pretty quickly. And now it's on to the next day, right?
That's it.
So you got to, similar to sports, and I talk a lot of sports analogies, like when a player gets burned, usually it's a cornerback, and the NFL, they give up a big pass play. If they're thinking about it any second longer than when the play ends, they're in trouble, because then they're going to get picked on a second time and a third time. And in business, if you let one bad day turn into two, into a week, it'll be months later and you'll wonder where the hell it started to spiral. So it's important to know when you're getting punched in the face, and it's important to know that you're not going to let it continue to happen. And then you can take action. That's the part that's exciting, because you get to do, you're part of the equation. I put a post out yesterday. Remember, people will throw darts. There's going to be people throwing shade at you when you're doing bad, when you're doing good, especially when you're doing great. And you don't have to be the dartboard. Like, you don't have to stand there and take it and let it be felt. Someone could throw some garbage at you or write an article about you in a negative way or whatever it is. But if you don't let it hit you, then the darts just, it's like they missed. You know what I mean? Like, we get to choose if it stings or not. They don't get to choose it. They're just throwing a dart, but we move out of the way.
Yeah.
So that, just want to say thank you again for having me on. And it's just a reminder to everybody listening that it's okay not to be, to not be okay, but don't live in that for too long.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've owned and operated 7 businesses, and it's not all unicorns, sparkles, and rainbows. I'll tell you that. My very first business, I was part of that tech bubble that got busted, and I lost the business. I lost everything overnight because of that tech bubble. I mean, I did what everyone should do, is just curl up in the corner and cry. And then 3 days later, I put on my big boy pants and started up my next business. But I learned so much from that experience, and I would never give it up in a million years. Ask me back then, I would have cried about it.
Two things, Sarah. I want to start a business that's called Unicorns and Rainbows, because people would say it's not unicorns and rainbows. Well, maybe we should make a company called Unicorns and Rainbows. I don't know what we'll sell. Maybe kids ice cream or something. Yeah. But the second part of that is, like, you got back up after a few days and you felt it. And the thing is, like, of course, there's certain things in life we'd say we never want that to happen, whether it's a death of a lost one, a child that has cancer and that just doesn't even add up or make sense, someone who's born with deformities or all kinds of stuff. Then you're like, how is it even fair, right? There's things that happen in life that are truly not fair. Nobody can really explain. And when things do happen to us, as long as we have the ability to take our own action and think and breathe and live on our, under our own care. My point is, physically, mentally, spiritually, however you want to look at it, we are not able to change a past event.
Right.
We just got to get over that. We're not able to do it. I don't have a DeLorean. I don't think you do. Doc Brown's not going to save us. So what we do is change how we react to it, because that's where the control is. So the event happened. Some people can be devastated, and it's understandable. Nobody's saying, hey, your spouse passes away unexpected. Is anyone saying that it doesn't make sense to naturally be devastated? No, that's going to take a really long time, and it's going to be painful. But my point is, that doesn't end the rest of happiness for you. At some point, there's going to be a bounce back, and then you're going to internalize it and be able to move on. And in business, it could be you're crushing it, and then the wheels fall off from underneath you, and it can seem like there's going to be no tomorrow. But you internalize it, you move forward, and you figure out different ways that you can make it actually help you in a sense, because all you can do now is somehow learn from that situation. So I always say it happened for you, right? Not to you. As bad as anything can be, it already happened. Is there any way I can somehow find a silver lining in it? We're talking about the worst things possible. I lost my dad last year to COVID, my grandmother to COVID. There's no way I can say, then now I get to learn from it. But it happened, and it's almost been a year now, and the holidays are already starting to hurt because we're not going to have dad and grandma. But all I can say is, okay, well, now when I'm with my daughter, I'm a dad. So be a better dad during the moment. And I'm learning that from my dad, who's no longer with us, because it's like, hey, I had 35 beautiful years with my dad. Not everybody gets those. Let me make sure I'm having one more beautiful moment with my daughter, because that I can control. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get stuck when they hit those walls, as I say. You know, I do a speech called "The Rock in Your Sandbox." These are our rocks, so it keeps us from playing in the sandbox. It's how we react to it, and are we learning from it, or is it going to just shut us down? And now we become a victim and use it as an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's like how to move on from these things. And I've like I said, they've had the ups and downs in businesses. I see it with business owners all the time. It's how they move on and learn from that situation. That whole fail fast kind of thing. I wish I would have learned that a long, long time ago.
Well, I mean, you look at a lot of the most inspiring people, whether you look, on a large scale level of the Walt Disneys, the Steve Jobs, right? A lot of times when you get into the weeds of their story, there's so much adversity that they've overcome. I'm not saying that these guys are always the best, role model. The more you learn, sometimes you find out things that aren't always great. But my point is, it was not just a smooth sailing. Like I just did a piece on Walt Disney, and I know that to get the funding for Disneyland, not Disney World, Disneyland back in, what was it? 50?
It's a
55, I think 55
yeah.
Possibly. To get funding on that, he had to borrow against his life insurance policy because lenders were like, no, we're not giving this dude money. Who is he? He's some cartoonist, is going to have a successful theme park. And they looked at him like they look at you and I if we said we wanted a theme park, And then he used that, he raised money. He had to get crafty in how he did it. And I know there are other ways that he got some loans and things. But the point is, he had this vision. Nobody was going to stop him from doing it. And that's the kind of stuff that inspires me, because there's days when I know it's like I'm one of one that believes in my journey some days, that believes in my story. I got people on my team who believe in what we're doing, and I have close friends and networking friends, people like yourself that reach out and connect with me. And we all, I could feel that energy. But at the end of the day, it's like, nobody's going to believe it in yourself more than you. And if you're not the top person who does, there's a problem with that. So when you have that same drive that Walt had when he was told no, he's like, fine, this door is closed. Let me find another door.
That's it. It's that unrelentless focus. If you have that in your business, I mean, you're a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that's the key to success. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. I mean, very first thing, all he wanted to do was sell, a book online. Relentless. And he didn't stop until he did it. And then he's like, wait a minute, I want to make selling that book easier. And so then he focused on that. Then he's like, wait, I can also do CDs. Focuses on that. And I always call it the Amazon theory. It's like they're only focusing on this many things at once. And that's why.
And then you can collect it. You can say, well, I did that. Now I did that. Now I do two things. And then I did that. Now I did three things. But in each moment, you hear like the riches are in the niches, and you hear niche down. True. But at the same time, once you do that, you can start to compound.
There you go. Yeah. And I think small business owners need to realize that it's like, stop trying to be everything to everyone and focus on who you are, your core market, your product service, and watch the magic that'll start happening in your business.
It's like a bakery. Like when you're first out and let's say you're learning how to make all the different, let's just say they only focus on pies, right? That's their area. Well, when you're making and right now it's the day before Thanksgiving as we record. So I'm getting hungry thinking about it. But you got like the pumpkin pie, right? So we're going to do the best we can, and this thing's going to be the best. And you get on the apple and you're not like trying to make an apple and a pumpkin at the same time.
Right.
And you're like, well, that ingredient here and put this ingredient there. And when did you start that one? Is that in the oven yet? Like you're trying to balance two things. It's like, let's really figure out how we can make the best pumpkin pie. So on that day, all you're doing is making great pumpkin pies. Once you learned it, you don't forget it. Then you go on and master the apple pie. And then eventually you can be a company that offers 7 different pies, right? And the thing that I want to talk about with that is I made the mistake of doing that kind of backwards. I'll share my story quick about Social Chameleon. So we launched in 2017. And I say we because it was me, myself, and I. All three of us were going at it in the first year. And I can share a little backstory in a moment if you care to hear it. But I was always into media as a kid, and I went to school for media production. So I knew I wanted to have a company that offered some kind of media connection and something that I knew I could sell proudly, that we were doing something to help out. Then I realized, well, who's going to pay for media production? Is this just going to be people who want a music video? Is it going to be kids who want skateboarding videos? Sure, that could happen here and there, but who's gonna turn this into a business that I can actually grow and scale? Companies, businesses, people who need marketing. So it's taking my skills in video and media production and turned it into a company. And we were doing too many things. I was doing trying to bake too many different pies all at the same time. So I would literally go into a business, and that my first year, I was knocking on doors and driving around getting coffee with people who are entrepreneurs and business owners and getting their attention at networking events and scheduling follow-up and all that good stuff. A lot of handshaking. And I would figure out what the hole they had in their business. So tell me, how are people discovering your business now? Oh, we're like in the Penny Saver local newspaper. That's it. Like, how else and then all of a sudden I'd be like, well, figure out if their website needs to be fixed and all these different things. And it was website, it was social media, it was content, all kinds of things that can help people tell their personal brand. And that was great, but it was like trying to prove that we were the right resource for all of those things at one time ended up derailing me because we never focused on becoming great in each category. And a lot of times when it was only myself, I had to hire additional help. The bigger the project, the less money I was making. The reason for it, like if I did a $5,000 gig, I would have to find someone that can help me execute on it. And the people who are really good that I trusted, they're going to be costly. They're not going to be the guy on Fiverr. I'm paying people who are as educated or better with their equipment than I am. I'm not going to hire down. I'm going to hire up. And so then I would get like 10% of the cut. And I was making these mistakes so frequently early on, then it was really starting to nosedive. And then what I realized is I didn't really figure out what we can be great at. So when someone comes to us, we're the resource that delivers on it. So instead of being pretty good, I wanted to be great. So I threw the word good out, and I always say be great and be grateful. Mm-hmm. It's right here, because I do believe that. I don't think you should wake up and say, I'm going to half-ass this assignment today. No, you're going to do the best you can. So we stopped kind of fluttering, trying to fly, and got more focused. And what I realized that I wanted to focus on was podcasting, and actually kind of found me. An entrepreneurial friend of mine had me working on his show a little bit. And then eventually, as that started to grow, I learned the medium of how to produce a podcast, what goes into like the pre-production, how to distribute. And I had this calling in myself, Steve. It was like, you're supposed to do a show. I literally felt, I kind of surrendered to God and said, how do you want to use me, man? Like, and this universe is so vast. This world is amazing. I want to have a spot on here. So at the end of it, God willing, however many years I get to experience, I certainly want this planet to be better on my last day than the day I was born. In some way, somehow I can do something here with my time and energy to leave it better than it found me, right? And so the podcast became part of it. And that's why, as you said in the intro, to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, I'm doing that through my own actions. And I'm also doing that through highlighting the guests on my show, because many of the guests are way further ahead even than I am, because I'm, again, reaching up in those interviews, right? So it's been an amazing journey for myself, both in my business and with the podcast, and kind of tracking to see where everybody else's story is going. And then what happened was, again, I was doing all those different services, including video testimonials. And once I launched my show, I get this email about a month later. And it was from one of the videos I was doing, one of the clients. And they're like, oh, you're doing podcasting now? Do you think you can maybe help us get started? And I thought they meant like give them a couple pointers or tips, or maybe pay me for consulting. They're like, no, dude, we want you to run the ship, like you're the El Capitan. And from there, I was like, oh, guess what? I can add this as a service. I got another pie on the menu, which was the mistake. And then eventually I said, I need to pivot. I love podcasting. I'm getting paid now, compensated appropriately to do this. And some of the other things I began working on that I wasn't fulfilled in, I realized, dude, I didn't leave corporate America in a cushiony salary to become an entrepreneur to then not do things I love. That's asinine. The whole reason I got out of corporate America was to do things I love. So eventually I just fell in love with podcasting and went from that first client to now about 13 new podcasts in not that long, maybe 18 months. Every month we're launching a new client. Now we're up to doing like 2, sometimes 3 new clients a month from scratch. Like no podcast exists to podcast multiple weekly episodes. It's been amazing. But it's all because I finally got focused.
Well, great. We're going to be right back with Mike. We're going to get a word from our sponsor here real quick. So please hold on. We'll be right back with you.
This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your expert book completed in 30 days. If you don't have an expert lead magnet book about you and how you serve your market, then visit www.spotlight-books.com. Link is also in the show notes. Put a spotlight on your expertise.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're here with Mike and talking about podcasting and how we're overcoming obstacles in our businesses and how we keep on moving and learning from them. And Mike, I know we've talked many times, and I'm a giver, and I love giving stuff to audiences and just trying to help small business owners, entrepreneurs, helping them survive and thrive to build a successful business. What kind of gift could you give our audience today?
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. I'm all about it. I want to encourage anybody who's like on the fence. They want to start a show. They're not sure about the time and energy behind it, or they just simply want to learn what goes into it. Most people want to do it themselves first to learn what it takes, and then they can either hire a small team, whether it's one person at first, or hire Social Chameleon, or however they want to go about it. So what I have and what I can do is I can give a discount, do $50 off on our do-it-yourself course, which is on socialchameleon.us. If you want to throw that in the show notes for everybody to click on it. They can go down to where it says do-it-yourself courses. There's 3 30-minute courses with myself. You're getting one-on-one time. They're normally $397 for all 3. I'll do $50 off. So somebody, once they click on it, they schedule that, then we handle the billing from there. And I'll be happy if someone mentions Steve or this podcast, they can get $50 off at any point in time. There's no expiration date on it.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the offer. We will have that link in the show notes. So take advantage of that offer. If you're even thinking about starting a podcast, let me tell you, I did a lot of research before it. I've talked to a lot of podcast experts such as Mike. And one of the things I learned really fast was get on, be a guest, and just jump in the dang pool and learn that way. And the hosts would give me some information. But guess what, folks? I'm telling you, that's one way to do it. I still had to get an expert to really help me out to launch this thing.
Yeah.
And Mike's giving you a great opportunity.
And if you're wondering, okay, well, what's included in the do-it-yourself? I mean, it's helping you get your Apple account set up so you can have it on Apple. How are you going to distribute it? That's either going with the freebie resource like an Anchor, or a paid like a Libsyn, Buzzsprout, Podbean, you name it. It's just a matter of comfort and familiarity. I love using Libsyn. I've been using it all along with multiple clients. I probably have launched over 10 shows now, either myself or helping people do it themselves on Libsyn. So at some point I got to get an affiliate link with them. I could probably make some dough. But my point is, you'll be able to get your show where you want it. And then we talk about things like the proper sizing for cover art and things that go into a good cover art. Audio and video, the technology side of it, how to properly set up a microphone, use a boom arm, where do you place the microphone, what's in your budget. If I personally started with this Yeti microphone before I was even professionally doing podcasting, it was like in my price range and budget. And I like the fact that it's red because my logo is red, and literally I could have like a nice Shure microphone right now, but I learned how to, in post-production, make this sound very good, actually sound great. And there was no reason for me at this point to do the upgrade because I properly know how to use this microphone. And I like the fact that it's red. But there's, someone had a budget where they're like, yeah, I could spend $500-700 on a mic. I'd get them like the SM7B, something that's more appropriate, that they want to put the microphone like a dynamic right up to them. So those conversations happen in these 3 30-minute sessions. And then I notate everything and I send them the notes. So if there's a service that I recommend, I don't just say like, yeah, write it in your notebook and forget about it. I actually send them a link to the source and an explanation of what to do with that information. So they have some homework to do so they can actively set up their show. Because I don't want to just teach people how to do it and then they don't take action. When I follow up with someone, I'm saying, when's your first episode come out? Because I want to tune in.
Absolutely. See, folks, there's more to it than just turning on Zoom and hitting record. So if you're thinking about it, get a hold of Mike, take advantage of his offer. We're going to have all that information in the show notes. So, Mike, I want to say thank you very much for being on the show, giving our listeners, we talked about, covered quite a few different things, and with your great offer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I want everyone to know, if you ever just want to talk about your idea of a new business, or you're struggling, or you just feel like you need some direction, if there's something you feel like you'd want to talk to me about, I'm open, guys. Hit me a message on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I'll make sure Steve has all my links. I love hearing from people. If you're actually tuning in and got all the way to the end of this interview, kudos for you hanging out with us. And I'd love to say thank you for that, and then help you out however I can. If there's a connection, if there's a piece of advice I can give, I'm still figuring everything out in life myself. Nobody has it all figured out, but I certainly know I can help someone who's where I was 4 years ago, because now I've done it. I've navigated those waters. So I don't want someone to just listen to this and then run off to their next meeting or wherever you're going. Connect with us, please, and see how we can help you out.
Great. Thanks again, Mike. Folks, please, if you like this episode, make sure you like us below and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on some of these great guests trying to help you grow your business. Once again, Mike, thanks again. And I wish everyone out there to your business success. This is Biz Coach Steve Feld.
We hope you enjoyed today's topic. If you'd like to discuss how you can apply these strategies in your business, let us know. This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your own expert book written about you in 30 days. Set yourself apart from the competition. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Also, feel free to give us your comments. We look forward to hearing from you on Biz Coach and Coffee.